All right, everyone, here is how to use the Evidence app. So, this modeling will show you kind of what steps you take as well as what happens after you finish using it. So, as this test says, you can test your evidence once it has been added to a claim and evaluated. Click a claim to add evidence to it. So, washing your hands prevents illnesses is our claim. So, you click it, and then it brings up a little passage. What you're going to do is try to find evidence in the passage that is opposing or against this claim or supports this claim. So we have to read to find out. Why should I wash my hands? Growing up, I always heard that washing your hands prevents illnesses. As a child, my mother made me wash my hands before I ate, which seemed unfair because she never made our dog, Porter, wash his paws before we ate, and he's never been sick once. I told my pediatrician, Dr. Lindman, about this, and he told me that he thinks patients who wash their hands regularly need fewer medical visits. During science class, my teacher allowed me to test this idea with some science equipment we had in the classroom. Using a microscope, I observed that the hands have less bacteria after washing than before. Later, I went to the library to do some more research. A study published in a respected medical journal showed that children who were educated about soap hand washing practices had a 50% lower incidence of certain illnesses than controls who did not receive that information. So, let's find opposing or supporting evidence. I told my pediatrician, Dr. Lindman, about this, and he told me that he thinks patients who wash their hands regularly need fewer medical visits. Well, I've got Dr. Lindman right here. Dr. Lindman is a pediatrician. He's an expert about sicknesses, about staying healthy for kids. So I'm going to use this as supporting evidence because he said that you need to go to the doctor less if you wash your hands regularly. In science class, I tested the idea with equipment. Using a microscope, I saw that less bacteria was on hands after washing them. So, less bacteria after washing than before. That tells me that washing your hands can prevent illness because there's less bacteria on your hands. A study published in a respected medical journal showed that children who were educated about soap washing hands had 50% lower incidence of certain illnesses than the controls who did not receive that information. So, children who were educated about soap washing hands had 50% lower incidence. I'm going to highlight that and add that as supporting evidence also. Then I go over here to evaluate. So, I pick evidence A. Is it factual or is it an opinion? Well, I think it's factual because there's medical research. Oh, look at that. My evidence became a bit stronger. Let's rate its credibility. Well, how truthful, how real, how trusted is the evidence and the source of the evidence? Well, I would say that a doctor has high credibility. How relevant is it? Well, it was about washing hands, so it's very relevant. That's some strong evidence. Let's click B. How factual is the evidence for B? Less bacteria than before after testing in the microscope? That's a fact. It's something observable. How credible is it? I would say that the source is the person in the story. That's high credibility. Is it relevant? It's also relevant. So we've got really strong evidence again. Evidence C. Children who are educated about soap hand washing practices at a 50% lower chance of incidence. That is a fact. It is something they proved during that study. It's a credible medical journal, high credibility, and it's highly relevant. We picked some very, very good evidence. We did not have any opposing evidence. Let's go to our summary and test who wins. Does supporting evidence or opposing evidence? Oh, let's go back and find some opposing evidence just to show what happens. Which seemed unfair because my dog, Porter, never washed his hands and he's never been sick once. That's opposing evidence. Let's go evaluate it really quick. That is a fact. However, it's a dog, so it's low credibility. Is it relevant? Well, dogs don't eat with their hands. So I don't think it's very relevant. Evidence that's not relevant will be deleted. Well, just to show what happens if it is relevant, we'll keep it. Let's test to see what happens. Washing your hand prevents illnesses. Claim. We got a tug of war. Oh, the strong evidence comes out on top. That's what happens when you pick good evidence to support your claim.